Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Are you planning to apply for your OCI card? Do you find the whole process a bit tiring, confusing, maybe even a little frustrating? Well, you come to the right place because I am about to simplify it all for you. I recently went through the entire OCI application journey myself. My first attempt, I sent it in by mail, feeling pretty confident, and it got rejected. It turns out BLS is incredibly good at finding even the smallest errors. So I had to redo my entire application, but this time I decided to go in person. And you know what? It was approved on the spot. I didn't have to pay for any of those premium services that I saw so many others being pushed into because of simple mistakes on their forms. I even saw people arguing with the staff over tiny details. That's when I knew I had to make this video. I have to save you the headache of going back and forth, the frustration of a rejection, and the extra cost of paying for help you might not even need. So, if you want to get your OCA application right the first time, keep watching. Before we dive into the OCA application process, I want to walk you through a checklist that I personally found much more helpful than the one provided on the BLS website. The official list can be a bit unclear. Some important documents that need to be uploaded or shown for verification aren't even mentioned there. So I've created a simplified checklist that breaks things down into three clear sections. For now, focus on section 1 and 2. I recommend gathering all of those documents before you start the online application. Scan and save everything as PDFs. It will make filing out the form much smoother. Just for context, in my case, I was born in India, became a Canadian citizen through naturalization, and I am currently married. I got married in Canada as well. So, if your situation is similar, this checklist should align closely with what you'll need. Let's start with section 1, gathering your Indian documents. These are the documents you'll need ready before beginning the OCI application. First is your Indian passport. You'll need scanned copies of the first and the last page and the page that clearly states passport cancelled. Then we come down to the surrender certificate. This is the certificate that you received when you officially surrendered your Indian passport. I also provided them with the spouse Indian documents. Since I'm married and my spouse is originally from India, I needed to include copies of their Indian passport, again the first, the last page, and the cancel page, along with their surrender certificate. Then it comes down to declaration or surrender of voter ID and ration card. This is important. Even if you never applied for a voter ID or ration card while you were an Indian citizen, you still need to submit a declaration stating that I've linked a template in the description for your convenience. If you did have either a voter ID or ration card, make sure you have surrendered them before applying for OCI. In my case, I had a voter ID and had to surrender it online, and honestly, that process wasn't very straightforward. I'll include the link in the description in case you need to go through that as well. Once you've gathered and scanned all of these Indian documents, you're ready to move on to the Canadian side. Now let's move on to the section 2, your Canadian documents. These are just as important, so make sure you have everything scanned and saved in a PDF format. First is Canadian passport. They officially ask for only the first page, but I scanned both the front and the back just to be safe. It's bit better to be thorough. Canadian citizenship certificate. You'll need a copy of this as proof of your naturalization. And then spouse Canadian documents. Since my spouse is also a naturalized Canadian citizen, I included their passport, again front and back, and their Canadian certificate as well. Marriage certificate. Important note here is when you're filing out the application, make sure to use the registration date of your marriage, not the ceremonial date. These are often different, and the application specifically asks for the registration date. When it comes down to the letter of employment, this should be on your company's official letterhead dated include the company's phone number, and mention your current job title. I simply asked my HR department to provide this, and they had it ready in no time. Proof of address. Make sure the address on your document matches exactly with what you enter in the OCI application. I used a BC Hydro bill, which worked well. Just a heads up, Fortis BC doesn't display my postal code on the bill, so double check that your document clearly shows the full address, including the postal code. Driver license or provincial ID. While this isn't listed on the BLS checklist, they did ask for mine when I went in person the second time. So I recommend including it to avoid any issues. When it comes to the photograph, this needs to be a recent photo. They may check the back of the photo for the date. Also avoid light color clothing. I actually saw someone's application get rejected on the spot because of this, and then they asked them to get the photo done in person right then and pay extra for it. At this point, if you have gathered all the documents listed in section 1 and 2, great. You're almost ready to start the OCI application. But before jumping in, here's what I recommend. Download the official BLS checklist and review it carefully. Compare it with the documents you've gathered to make sure nothing is missing. Every case is a bit different, so it's worth double checking. Now, for a few tech tips before you begin the application, the OCI online portal has a file size limit of 1000 KB per uploaded file. I didn't know this first and had to spend extra time compressing my files. Save yourself the hassle, compress your PDFs in advance. You'll need a digital photo and a digital signature ready. For photo, I just took a picture of my 2x2 printed photo and cropped it into the correct dimensions. For the signature, I wrote it on a plain white sheet, scanned it, and cropped it as per the application specifications. Alright, with all your documents ready and files prepped, you're all set to start the OCI application. Some of the most common mistakes people make, myself included, these can lead to delays or even your application being returned, so it's worth paying close attention. First is marriage registration date. I already spoke about this, but this is not your wedding date. Use the official registration date listed on your marriage certificate. Relationship with Indian root. In my case, I selected self because I was originally an Indian citizen before becoming a Canadian. And then place of issue passport. This one caused my application to be returned. I had entered Canada, but what they actually want is the city mentioned under authority on your passport. For example, mine said Mississauga, and that's what I should have entered. Same applies for your spouse passport. Check the authority field on the front page. And when it comes down to previous passport number, this refers to your previous Canadian passport, not your Indian passport. Since I only became a Canadian citizen 3 years ago and haven't had any prior Canadian passport, I left this blank. You'll still enter your Indian passport details under the section specifically asking for it. And when it comes to employment and residential address, be sure to include your city, province, and postal code. Make sure this exactly matches your proof of address document. BLS is very particular, even down to using the full form of street types like boulevard, crescent, family members residing in Canada. This part is often overlooked. The form asks for details of family members who are still Indian citizens and currently live in India. I listed 4 to 5 of my relatives for this section, like names, relationships, and the city of residence. Take your time with the application form, double check these fields, and you'll save yourself unnecessary back and forth. Once you've completed and submitted the OCI application online, the system will generate a few documents for you, including the declaration page. Now print the declaration page, fill it out using a blue ink pen, and sign it by hand. This document is required when you submit your full application package to the BLS. Now about the document upload section on the OCI portal. You might notice that the upload page doesn't have a separate tab for every single document. So here's what I did to manage that. Combine documents where it makes sense. I merged my Canadian passport and my spouse passport in one PDF. Then I merged my driver license and proof of address into another. Just make sure combined file is under 1000 KB limit, and also don't forget to upload the declaration for voter ID and ration card surrender. Even if you never had them, that document is still needed and needs to be uploaded. By organizing your documents this way, you'll avoid upload issues and keep your application cleaner and easier for BLS to process. At this stage, I would say it's a good time to do one final review. Double check all documents have been uploaded correctly. Cross-reference everything with the BLS checklist to ensure you haven't missed anything. Now let's talk about fees and submission. The OCI application fee, including the BLS service fee, will vary slightly based on your situation. In my case, I paid $377.40 for the application and then an additional $40 for courier return service since picker was not allowed in person. I rounded up and ended up paying $420 in total since I didn't have the exact cash. Now the payment method that you can use if you're going in person are either cash or debit card. They do not accept credit cards, so plan accordingly. I highly recommend booking an appointment in advance, submitting your documents in person if possible. I think it allows you to clarify any last minute questions directly with the BLS staff and avoid errors that could lead to delays. I know this process can feel overwhelming. There are a lot of steps, and small mistakes can result in rejections or extra fees. My goal with this video is just to simplify it for you, so you don't have to go through the back and forth or end up paying unnecessary charges due to avoidable errors. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone going through the OCI process. Thanks again for watching, and good luck with your application.